My daughter's boyfriend called me a coward who hides behind my wife until I showed him my Purple Heart and combat scars from Afghanistan. So he used his trust fund money to destroy my business and slash my daughter's tires while following us at 3 a.m. taking photos. But my daughter secretly recorded him confessing his entire harassment campaign and how he'd done this before to a teacher who gave him a bad grade. My daughter Lucy thinks I'm the most embarrassing father on the planet. She's 17 and acts like being seen with me might actually cull her. Last month she started dating this kid Ryan, typical high school tough guy type, cocky as hell. My first impression of him was him pulling up in our driveway in a BMW and beeping when he arrived. As soon as he sat down, he immediately started showing off, if you can even call it that, because the bragging in question was about his Call of Duty rank and how he's going to join the Marines after graduation to become a real warrior. I bet you've never even been in a real fight, Mr. Peterson, he says to me with this smug little smirk. His voice drips with that teenage arrogance that makes your teeth itch. Lucy groans and shakes her head. Ryan, my dad works with numbers all day. He doesn't know about army stuff. Ryan keeps pushing. Come on, Mr. P. Just admit you're scared of conflict. I mean, look at you. He waves his hand at my polo shirt and dad jeans. You probably hide behind your wife when someone honks at you in traffic. He snaps his fingers at Sarah like she's the help. Can you get me some sparkling water? The imported kind my family drinks? My wife Sarah gives me a look from across the dinner table. She knows, but Lucy doesn't. We agreed years ago never to tell her about before. About who I used to be. About why we moved to this quiet suburb when she was 2. Ryan, I say quietly, cutting into my meatloaf. Maybe we should just eat. Ryan ignores me completely. He actually gets up from the table and starts showing off some martial arts moves he learned from YouTube. His technique is garbage. No balance whatsoever. See, this is what real strength looks like, old man. Bet you couldn't do 10 push-ups if your life depended on it. Lucy's face is bright red now. She's mortified by him for being obnoxious, and by me for just sitting there taking it. That's when Ryan notices the small American flag pin on my keychain. Oh, cute. Mr. P supports the troops. Very patriotic for a desk monkey. Sarah puts her hand on my arm. Ryan, you really need to stop now. But he doesn't. I'm going to serve my country. Unlike some people who just wave flags and pretend they understand sacrifice. He laughs coldly. Though honestly, why would I need to work when my trust fund kicks in next year? That's when he spots my reading glasses sitting on the side table. He snatches them up and slides them on his face, hunching his shoulders forward in an exaggerated pose. Look at me. I'm an accountant. I'm so scared of everything. He pushes the glasses up his nose and pretends to tremble. Oh no, please don't make me do anything brave. I might break a nail. The room goes dead silent. I stand up slowly and walk to our hall closet. In the back behind winter coats, I pull out a wooden box I haven't opened in 15 years. My hands shake a little as I set it on the dining room table. Dad, what is that? Lucy asks. Her voice is confused and small. Inside the box is my dress blue uniform. The ribbons and medals still perfectly arranged. The Purple Heart catches the light from our chandelier. Ryan's cocky smirk starts to fade, but I'm not done. I pull out my old dog tags. The metal is worn smooth from years of wearing them in places Ryan's Call of Duty games never showed him. You want to know about real fights, Ryan? I say, holding up a photo of me and my unit in Afghanistan. This was taken outside Kandahar in 2003. I'm the guy third from the left. Ryan looks like he's seeing a ghost. See that scar on my shoulder? I roll up my polo sleeve to show the shrapnel mark. IED hit our convoy during a supply run. Lost 2 good men that day, Johnson and Martinez. They had kids too. Lucy starts crying. Not from embarrassment this time, from something deeper. Ryan's face turns bright red with rage instead of shame. His hands clench into fists. You just made a huge effing mistake, he said, voice shaking. He slammed the door so hard it rattled the windows. Through the glass, I see him already on his phone in his BMW, making calls. Lucy doesn't even seem to notice the threat. She sits next to me on our old couch for the first time in 3 years and hugs me like she means it. Why didn't you ever tell me? She whispers through her tears. All these years, I thought you were just ordinary. I look at my daughter. This amazing person Sarah and I created while I was healing from wounds both visible and invisible. Because I wanted you to love me for who I am now, not who I had to be then. War changes people, Lucy. At that moment, I was grateful for Ryan because the whole thing had brought us closer as a family. But little did I know, he wouldn't let me get away so easily. And it wasn't long before he taught me exactly what secrets rich people are hiding. I watched through the window as Ryan sat in his BMW for the next 20 minutes, making call after call, his face twisted with rage as he gestured wildly, pointing at our house between conversations. The way his jaw clenched and his fist pounded the steering wheel told me this wasn't just teenage anger. This was something darker. Lucy came up behind me, still wiping tears from her eyes. She asked what Ryan meant by his threats, what kind of mistake I'd made. I brushed off her concerns, telling her Ryan was just embarrassed and would cool down. Sarah shot me worried glances from across the room. She knew better. We both did. 3 days passed in relative quiet. I thought maybe Ryan had moved on, found some other target for his wounded pride. Then my biggest accounting client called for our monthly check-in. Mr. Henderson, who I'd worked with for 8 years, sounded distant, cold even. He mentioned they were evaluating all vendor relationships and would be in touch about next steps. The call that usually lasted an hour ended in 5 minutes. The next sign came at Lucy's school pickup. Parents who normally chatted with me about weekend plans and PTA meetings suddenly found reasons to look away. Conversations died when I approached. Mrs. Chen, whose taxes I'd done for years, actually crossed to the other side of the parking lot to avoid me. That evening, I broke my own rule about avoiding confrontation. I texted Ryan directly. Simple and clear. Whatever you're doing, stop. His response came within seconds. Just getting started, soldier boy. A week later, Sarah got the call. The country club we'd belonged to for a decade was putting our membership under review, pending investigation of concerning reports. They wouldn't specify what reports. They wouldn't say who filed them, just that the board would meet to discuss our status. Lucy came home from school that day in tears. Not the angry tears from before, but broken ones. Ryan had been telling their friends that I'd gone psycho at dinner, threatened him with war stories. He painted himself as the victim of an unstable veteran who couldn't handle his daughter dating. The other kids were eating it up. I decided to drive to Ryan's house that night, try to talk to his parents. But when I reached their gated community, the security guard who usually waved me through, I'd done his taxes too, wouldn't open the gate. He mumbled something about a do not admit list. Through the bars, I could see cameras tracking my car. Ryan's social media campaign started the next day. Posts about crazy military dads who can't handle their daughters dating better men. Photos of his BMW with captions about success triggering the unsuccessful. Each post carefully crafted to make him look reasonable and me unhinged. Over the following week, 3 more accounting clients became suddenly unavailable for meetings. Payments that were never late started getting delayed. New referrals dried up completely. My business, built over 15 years of honest work, was bleeding out. Then came the morning I found Lucy's car in the school parking lot with all 4 tires slashed, deep, angry cuts that couldn't be mistaken for normal wear. The school's security cameras had mysteriously malfunctioned during the exact hour it happened. No footage, no witnesses, no proof. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with a photo from Ryan. My daughter's destroyed tires. His message read, accidents happen to people who disrespect important families. Sarah's book club canceled their monthly meeting at our house the following week. No explanation from most, just awkward excuses. Only Catherine from church called privately, whispering that she'd heard concerning things but didn't believe them. She promised to pray for us. I started researching Ryan's family, trying to understand what we were really dealing with. What I found made my stomach drop. His father wasn't just wealthy, he was connected. Major investor in the bank that held our mortgage. Board member at Lucy's school. Part owner of 3 major businesses in town that employed half my remaining clients. Lucy's guidance counselor called the next day, voice dripping with false concern. She worried about family instability affecting Lucy's college applications. When I pressed for specifics, she mentioned reports of concerning behavior and suggested Lucy might benefit from professional help dealing with trauma at home. At the grocery store, I caught whispers behind my back. "That's him," someone said. "The unstable veteran who threatened a kid." I turned to confront them, but they scattered like I was contagious. Ryan's next move was brilliant in its cruelty. He showed up at my office during lunch hour when the reception area was full of clients. He spoke loudly about wanting to apologize for the misunderstanding and make peace despite everything. His words were perfect, but his eyes were cold. When I stayed firm, professional, asked him to leave, he made sure everyone heard him being mature while I seemed hostile. My receptionist started avoiding eye contact after that. Within days, she mentioned she was exploring other opportunities. Lucy confronted me that night with screenshots from Ryan's social media. Ryan went from bragging about Call of Duty to playing real-life Monopoly with someone's entire existence. Turns out trust fund babies don't just collect properties, they collect people's livelihoods too. Post after post, painting himself as the victim of a violent father who couldn't accept his daughter growing up. The comments were brutal. People I'd known for years were buying his story. My own daughter's eyes held doubt for the first time. Then Ryan's mother called Sarah. Mrs. Hamilton's voice oozed false concern as she worried about military trauma affecting a normal teenager. She suggested we seek help for my obvious PTSD issues before someone got hurt. Sarah hung up on her, but the damage was done. The narrative was set. My research revealed more about Ryan's family influence. His father owned the property management company that ran half the commercial buildings in town, sat on boards that controlled business licenses, had connections that could make or break careers with a few phone calls. Anonymous complaints started flooding the state licensing board about my accounting practice, unprofessional conduct, aggressive behavior, mental instability affecting work quality. Each complaint required responses, documentation, time away from actual work. Ryan orchestrated coincidental encounters with Lucy at her favorite coffee shop. Her friends saw him being sweet, supportive, concerned about her difficult home situation. He was rewriting history in real time, and Lucy was caught in the middle. I started following Ryan discreetly, trying to understand his patterns. One afternoon, I watched him meet with a man outside a law office. They talked for 20 minutes, Ryan pointing at papers, the man taking notes. It looked like a private investigator. The final straw came when Sarah received an anonymous letter, detailed information about my military service, twisted to paint a picture of violence and instability, warning signs of PTSD, history of combat aggression, danger to family and community, all lies built on kernels of truth. I stood at our kitchen window that night, watching the street. Somewhere out there, a privileged kid with too much money and no conscience was systematically destroying everything I'd built. My business, my reputation, my family's peace. Sarah stood beside me, her hand finding mine. Lucy was upstairs, probably reading more of Ryan's lies online. We were under siege, and I was running out of ways to fight back that wouldn't prove Ryan's narrative true. The war I thought I'd left in Afghanistan had followed me home. Only this time, the enemy wore designer clothes and fought with social media instead of bullets. This time, I couldn't fight back the way I'd been trained. This time, I had to find another way. I installed security cameras around our property the next morning, working through the drizzle while Sarah watched from the kitchen window. The technician showed me how to access the feeds from my phone, explaining motion detection settings and night vision capabilities. That first night, the cameras captured something that made my blood run cold. A figure in dark clothing walked along our property line at 3 a.m., stopping to photograph our house from multiple angles. The BMW parked down the street was unmistakable. Lucy's college interview with her dream school got canceled 2 days later. The admissions office claimed scheduling conflicts, but when I pressed for details, they mentioned concerns about family circumstances affecting her academic performance. I discovered Ryan's father sat on the alumni board. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. My surveillance of Ryan revealed more than I expected. Following him to the country club where he claimed to volunteer for community service hours, I watched him spend 4 hours playing video games in the teen lounge. No volunteering, no service, just lies to pad his college applications. I documented everything with photos and timestamps. Ryan must have spotted me because within hours, his social media lit up with posts about being stalked by Lucy's unstable father. He shared a photo taken at the country club showing me in the background, spinning a narrative about feeling unsafe. His followers rallied around him, calling for restraining orders and police intervention. The security footage from our home showed Ryan's BMW passing by our house multiple times each night. Sometimes he'd slow down while a passenger took photos. Other times he'd just cruise past, headlights sweeping across our windows. Lucy noticed the pattern too, asking why Ryan's car kept appearing on our street when he lived across town. Sarah's employer called her into human resources the following Monday. Someone had sent an anonymous tip about potential workplace violence concerns regarding her husband. They assured her it was just protocol, but she needed to sign documents acknowledging the meeting. Her supervisor started treating her differently, creating distance where there had been warmth. I found evidence that Ryan had been researching military PTSD symptoms online. His browser history, carelessly left open on a library computer I checked after him, showed searches for signs of combat trauma and how to identify unstable veterans. He was studying me like a specimen, learning how to frame my every action as dangerous. Lucy's best friend stopped returning her calls after Ryan shared his concerns privately. He'd shown her carefully edited screenshots of my text messages, removing context to make routine fatherly concern look controlling. Lucy came home from school increasingly isolated, her social circle poisoned by Ryan's calculated whispers. The escalation became physical when I found Ryan waiting by my car after work. He sat on the hood eating a sandwich, completely calm. When I approached, he mentioned how accidents could happen in parking lots, how surveillance cameras didn't cover every angle, how my insurance might not cover mysterious damage. All delivered with a smile while other people walked past. Ryan's knowledge went deeper than I'd realized. He mentioned specific details about my old unit, names of soldiers I'd served with. He implied his private investigator was digging into my service record, looking for incidents that could be twisted. The thought of him contaminating the memory of fallen brothers made my hands shake with suppressed rage. My therapy appointment, which I'd scheduled to create documentation of my mental stability, somehow became known to Lucy's school counselor. She called expressing concern about my seeking treatment, wondering if it indicated deeper issues. The privacy violation was clear, but proving it was impossible. Ryan orchestrated a public encounter at Lucy's favorite restaurant. He arrived with flowers just as our family sat down for dinner, approaching our table with theatrical remorse. Other diners watched as he played the perfect apologetic boyfriend, while I looked like the angry father refusing to forgive. Lucy fled to the bathroom in tears, while Ryan departed with satisfied smugness. The private investigator Ryan hired had been busy. I learned from my old squad leader that someone had been calling former unit members, asking leading questions about my temperament and any violent incidents during deployment. They painted themselves as concerned citizens, worried about a veteran in crisis. Most hung up, but the damage was spreading. Sarah confronted me about my increasing paranoia one night after I spent hours reviewing security footage. She wondered if I was seeing threats where none existed, if Ryan was just a spoiled kid who'd moved on. For a moment, I saw doubt in her eyes. The isolation campaign was working even on my strongest ally. Ryan's psychological warfare reached new depths when he sent me a photo of Lucy, laughing with friends at school. The message attached read simply that she seemed happier when I wasn't hovering, wasn't ruining her life with paranoid delusions. The image had been taken from inside the school, somewhere he shouldn't have been able to access. I remembered something that had nagged at me me since that first dinner. Ryan's specific military terminology, his knowledge of rank structures and deployment patterns. No video game taught those details. I realized with growing horror that he'd researched me before ever meeting Lucy. This wasn't random. He targeted her because of me. Sarah noticed the suspicious man first. She was gardening when she spotted him taking photos of our house from across the street. When she confronted him, he claimed to be documenting architecture for a school project, but his nervous fumbling with credentials revealed the truth. He was a private investigator hired by concerned parents worried about their children's safety around a potentially unstable veteran. My security system finally captured the smoking GN. At 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, crystal clear footage showed Ryan climbing our fence and rifling through our recycling bin. He pulled out bank statements, medical forms, anything with personal information. His face was perfectly visible as he photographed documents with his phone before carefully replacing everything. Lucy saw something she wasn't meant to on Ryan's phone during school. While he was distracted, she glimpsed photos of our house with notes about our daily routines, times when cars left, when lights turned off, which windows had clear sightlines. The tactical precision of it made her physically ill. She finally understood the depth of his obsession. My investigation into Ryan's past revealed a pattern. Contacting his previous school took persistence, but eventually, a counselor agreed to speak off the record. There had been an incident with a teacher who'd given him a poor grade. Harassment, intimidation, family lawyers involved. The teacher resigned rather than fight the wealthy family's resources. Ryan transferred schools with a clean record. The former teacher agreed to meet me at a coffee shop 2 towns over. She looked exhausted, older than her years. She explained how Ryan had systematically destroyed her career when she wouldn't change his grade. Ryan's going through recycling bins at 3 a.m. like some kind of designer-dressed raccoon, photographing bank statements with the dedication of someone who really needs a better hobby. False accusations, manipulated evidence, coordinated attacks on her reputation. His family's money made fighting back impossible. She'd lost everything and started over elsewhere. Ryan's pattern became clear. He chose targets who challenged him, who didn't recognize his assumed superiority. He studied them, found vulnerabilities, then executed campaigns of destruction that looked like isolated incidents to outsiders. The teacher mentioned his particular interest in authority figures, especially those with military or law enforcement backgrounds. Lucy discovered Ryan's notebook during a study group at his house. While he was in the bathroom, she found detailed plans for destroying our family. Timelines of attacks, psychological pressure points identified, contingency plans for different responses. Her name appeared only as a tool, a means to access a military family he wanted to break. The revelation shattered her remaining illusions. Ryan realized his notebook was missing within hours. His texts to Lucy shifted from manipulative sweetness to barely contained rage. He accused her of theft, threatened legal action, then pivoted to claiming the notebook was fiction, a creative writing project. His desperation showed in the rapid cycling through different strategies. Lucy confronted Ryan at school the next day. She'd photographed every page of his notebook before returning it. When he tried to gaslight her, claiming I'd planted it to break them up, she showed him his own handwriting documenting dates and events that had already occurred. His mask finally slipped completely as other students watched. Sarah rallied our neighbors by sharing the security footage of Ryan's nighttime activities. The clear video of him trespassing and going through our trash opened eyes. Mrs. Chen apologized for avoiding me, admitting Ryan's mother had shared concerns about my stability that seemed credible at the time. The community tide began turning. Working with the former teacher, I compiled a detailed timeline of Ryan's harassment patterns. 2 families, similar tactics, escalating behavior when challenged. We documented everything meticulously, creating a paper trail that would be hard to dismiss. Her courage in coming forward despite the personal cost gave me hope. Lucy's best friend reached out with apologies after seeing Ryan's notebook photos Lucy had shared. She admitted Ryan had seemed too interested in Lucy's family from the start, asking probing questions about me before they'd even met. The friend recognized the manipulation in hindsight, the calculated way he'd positioned himself. Ryan's attempt to explain away the notebook crumbled when Lucy pointed out specific dates and details that matched real events. His claim of creative writing fell apart as she highlighted his research notes, the systematic planning, the clear intent to harm. Other students began distancing themselves as they recognized the disturbing nature of his obsession. My military buddy confirmed the private investigator's inquiries had been specifically leading, trying to establish a pattern of violence and financial desperation. The questions revealed intimate knowledge of military culture, but twisted to seek damaging information. My friend had recorded the conversation, sensing something was off about the caller's agenda. Ryan's parents finally agreed to meet after seeing the security footage and notebook evidence. They arrived at our house in separate cars, his mother's face tight with anger, his father checking his phone constantly. The meeting lasted 10 minutes. They viewed the evidence, made no apologies, and left promising only to handle the situation internally. Their priority was protecting their son, not acknowledging victims. Lucy's public breakup with Ryan happened in the school cafeteria. She stood up during lunch, announced to everyone within earshot that Ryan had been stalking and harassing her family, and showed his notebook photos on her phone. His response was to claim she was having a mental breakdown caused by her father's abuse. The accusation rang hollow as students saw the evidence themselves. My client base began recovering as neighbors spread the word about Ryan's campaign. Mr. Henderson called personally to apologize, explaining that Ryan's father had strongly suggested reconsidering our business relationship. With the truth emerging, clients felt comfortable returning. The financial bleeding slowed, though the damage would take months to fully repair. Ryan's desperation manifested in increasingly reckless behavior. He followed me to the grocery store, loudly demanding I admit to being an unfit father. When I remained calm, he grew more agitated, drawing security's attention. His performance for an audience backfired as witnesses saw him as the aggressor, not the victim he claimed to be. Store security footage clearly showed Ryan initiating confrontation while I tried to shop peacefully. His aggressive body language and raised voice contradicted his social media narrative of being threatened by a dangerous veteran. For the first time, public perception shifted in my favor as the video circulated among concerned community members. The former teacher connected me with Lucy's school counselor, explaining her own experience with Ryan's harassment. She also mentioned that their church pastor had witnessed Ryan's manipulative behavior during a youth group he'd briefly attended. The counselor began reconsidering her assumptions about our family situation. Ryan's social media posts grew increasingly erratic as his support network crumbled. Friends who'd initially rallied to his defense began questioning his stories as inconsistencies mounted. His carefully crafted image of victimhood fell apart with each desperate attempt to maintain control of the narrative. The comments section turned from supportive to skeptical. The country club called with apologies about the membership review, acknowledging they'd received misleading information about an incident that never occurred. They'd reviewed security footage from the day Ryan claimed I'd threatened him there and found nothing supporting his story. The membership suspension was lifted immediately. Ryan made one last attempt to salvage his relationship with Lucy, approaching her after school with claims he'd been trying to protect her from an unstable home environment. His performance might have worked months earlier, but Lucy now saw through every manipulation. She walked away as he called after her, his mask of concern slipping to reveal fury. Lucy's college applications were reinstated after the school learned about Ryan's interference campaign. The admissions office apologized for the misunderstanding, acknowledging they'd been misled by false reports of family crisis. Lucy's guidance counselor advocated for her, having learned the truth about Ryan's systematic harassment. My business reputation recovered as word spread about the orchestrated campaign against our family. New clients actually sought me out, impressed by how I'd handled the situation without resorting to violence or retaliation. The community that had briefly briefly turned against me, now offered support and understanding. Ryan's parents quietly arranged his transfer to a private school in another district. The official reason was academic opportunities, but everyone knew the truth. They were removing him from an environment where his reputation was irreparably damaged. His pattern of targeting families would likely continue elsewhere. Relief washed over me as the immediate threat passed. I removed some security cameras, feeling the siege mentality lift. Lucy started dating a genuinely nice kid from her physics class, someone who treated her with actual respect. Sarah's book club resumed meetings at our house. Life returned to something resembling normal. Lucy seemed to truly move past the trauma, throwing herself into college preparations and new friendships. Her resilience amazed me, the way she'd found strength to stand up to Ryan when she discovered the truth. She even helped other girls at school recognize similar manipulation tactics in their own relationships. The apologies started arriving from unexpected places. Church members who'd whispered behind our backs now approached after services, acknowledging they'd been misled. Local business owners who distanced themselves admitted Ryan's family had pressured them. Each conversation felt like a small weight lifting, though the scars remained visible in Sarah's cautious smiles and Lucy's wariness around new people. My therapy sessions shifted focus entirely. Instead of defending my mental stability against anonymous accusations, I worked through the harassment's impact on our family dynamics. The therapist noted how Ryan's campaign had actually strengthened our bonds, forcing conversations we'd avoided for years. Lucy joined several sessions, processing how she'd been used as a weapon against her own family. 2 weeks of peace followed. The security cameras I'd kept active showed nothing unusual. Just normal suburban traffic, delivery trucks, neighbors walking dogs, no BMW creeping past at odd hours, no figures photographing our house. The absence of threat felt almost suspicious after months of constant vigilance. Sarah suggested a family vacation to celebrate Lucy's college acceptance and our survival of the crisis. She spread brochures across the kitchen table, pointing out beach resorts and mountain retreats. Lucy actually engaged with the planning, something she hadn't done since middle school. We settled on a week in Colorado, far from Ryan's sphere of influence. The morning Lucy went to submit her final college paperwork, she found Ryan waiting outside her workplace with an enormous bouquet of roses. He'd styled himself differently. Gone were the designer clothes, replaced with humble jeans and a plain shirt. His entire demeanor screamed transformation and remorse. Coworkers watched through the window as he approached her car. Lucy texted me immediately, hands shaking as she typed. I arrived within minutes to find Ryan still there, flowers wilting in the summer heat. He'd positioned himself perfectly, visible to everyone, appearing patient and apologetic. When Lucy firmly rejected his gesture, he didn't leave. Instead, he followed her car home, maintaining careful distance, but ensuring she knew he was there. I intercepted Ryan in our driveway before Lucy could exit her vehicle. He immediately launched into a performance about seeking closure and making amends. Neighbors emerged to witness what appeared to be a calm young man trying to apologize while I stood between him and my daughter. His calculated positioning made me look like the aggressive one, reopening wounds in our community's perception. The standoff lasted 20 minutes. Ryan never raised his voice, never made threatening gestures. He simply stood there, flowers in hand, speaking about personal growth and second chances. Every word carefully chosen to paint himself as reformed, while I appeared unreasonable. Lucy finally got out of her car and walked past him without acknowledgement, but the damage was done. Within hours, Ryan's return became neighborhood gossip. Some questioned whether we'd been too harsh, whether a young man deserved forgiveness for teenage mistakes. The narrative he'd fought so hard to establish months earlier found new life. Sarah fielded calls from well-meaning friends suggesting we consider his apology. Ryan's persistence escalated subtly. He appeared at Lucy's workplace during shifts, always maintaining legal distance, but ensuring his presence was felt. He enrolled in a volunteer program at the local hospital where Lucy's best friend worked. He joined the gym where I'd been a member for years, always nodding politely when our paths crossed. The confrontation I tried to avoid became inevitable when Ryan appeared at our doorstep one evening. He brought his parents this time, their expensive car blocking our driveway. His mother carried documents, what looked like legal papers. His father stood back, observing everything with calculating eyes. They wanted to discuss terms for ending all accusations in exchange for a formal apology acceptance. Lucy watched from her bedroom window as I stood firm against their pressure. Ryan maintained his reformed persona perfectly, even producing what he claimed were therapy session notes, proving his personal growth. His mother emphasized how damaging continued conflict would be for everyone's reputation. His father mentioned their connections to Lucy's chosen college, never quite crossing into explicit threat territory. The meeting ended with Ryan making one final statement about protecting Lucy from an unstable home environment if we didn't accept his peace offering. The calculation in his eyes contradicted every word of supposed transformation. As they left, he looked directly at Lucy's window and smiled. Not the fake apologetic smile he'd worn for weeks, but the cold satisfaction I remembered from months earlier. Lucy made her decision that night. She spent hours on her laptop, researching recording laws and planning something I didn't yet understand. The determination in her movements reminded me of preparing for missions. Careful, methodical, purposeful. When I asked about her plans, she simply hugged me and said she'd learned from the best about protecting family. 3 days later, Lucy texted Ryan agreeing to meet him privately to hear his apology. She chose a public park with good acoustics and multiple escape routes, details that made me proud even as worry gnawed at my stomach. She wore a wire she'd purchased online, testing it repeatedly before leaving. Her new boyfriend Nathan agreed to wait nearby as backup. I followed at a distance, watching Lucy walk toward the bench where Ryan waited. His body language shifted the moment he thought they were alone, the humble posture straightening, the apologetic expression morphing into smugness. Lucy sat carefully, positioning herself for optimal recording quality while maintaining quick exit access. The conversation I witnessed from afar lasted 40 minutes. Ryan's gestures grew more animated as time passed, his mask slipping further with each minute. Lucy remained calm, occasionally nodding or shaking her head. At one point, Ryan grabbed her wrist when she tried to leave. Nathan started moving closer, but Lucy handled it herself, pulling free with a defensive technique I taught her years ago. When Ryan realized Lucy was leaving despite his efforts, his composure cracked completely. He followed her across the park, his voice carrying even to my position. Nathan intercepted him halfway, placing himself between Ryan and Lucy. The sight of backup clearly surprised Ryan, who'd expected Lucy to come alone and vulnerable. I reached them as Ryan's threats escalated. He'd shifted from apologetic to aggressive, revealing his true nature to everyone within earshot. Park visitors stopped to watch as Ryan demanded Lucy delete whatever she'd recorded, confirming he knew she'd been documenting their conversation. His parents' arrival minutes later only made things worse. Ryan's mother attempted damage control, loudly proclaiming her son was being set up by a vindictive military family. His father made calls to lawyers while Ryan continued his meltdown. Lucy stood calmly between Nathan and me, holding her phone with the recording safely uploaded to cloud storage. She learned from Ryan's own tactics, always maintain evidence backups. The police arrived after concerned park visitors called about the disturbance. Ryan immediately shifted back to victim mode, claiming harassment and false accusations. But multiple witnesses had seen his aggressive behavior, his grabbing of Lucy, his pursuit when she tried to leave. The officers took statements from everyone, their body cameras capturing Ryan's fluctuating personas. Lucy played portions of the recording for the officers with Ryan's parents present. His confession about orchestrating the entire harassment campaign was crystal clear. His admission that Lucy meant nothing to him beyond access to destroy a military family echoed across the park. His detailed bragging about the slashed tires, the false complaints, the systematic destruction of our lives, all captured in his own voice. voice. Ryan's parents' faces transformed as they listened. His mother's defensive stance crumbled into horror. His father stopped making calls and actually listened. The revelation that their son had done this before, that the teacher from his previous school wasn't his only victim, hit them visibly. They'd enabled a pattern they'd refused to see. The next weeks brought a cascade of consequences. Ryan's parents withdrew him from all local activities and enrolled him in a therapeutic boarding school specializing in behavioral modification. The community learned about the recording through witness accounts, not social media posts or public campaigns. Lucy refused interview requests from local papers, choosing privacy over publicity. My business recovered fully as former clients reached out with genuine apologies and new contracts. The state licensing board dismissed all anonymous complaints after learning about Ryan's harassment campaign. Lucy's college confirmed her acceptance remained secure, even offering additional support given what she'd endured. The country club waived our dues for a year as an apology for their rush to judgment. Lucy's strength through the ordeal impressed everyone who knew our story. She helped establish a peer support group at school for students dealing with relationship manipulation. Her approach was practical, teaching recognition of warning signs and documentation strategies. 3 girls came forward with similar stories about boys from wealthy families using comparable tactics. The legal consequences for Ryan remained minimal. His family's resources ensured that, but the social consequences proved lasting. His carefully crafted image was permanently shattered. His parents sold their house and moved to another state, seeking fresh start where their name wasn't associated with their son's actions. The reform school report suggested Ryan was responding to intensive therapy, though skepticism remained warranted. Our family emerged different but intact. Sarah returned to her normal routines with renewed confidence. Lucy approached her college journey with hard-won wisdom about manipulation and strength. The security cameras came down completely, no longer needed. Our home felt like a sanctuary again rather than a fortress under siege. 6 months later, I watched Lucy pack for college with mixed emotions. She'd grown from the embarrassed teenager who couldn't stand being seen with me into a young woman who understood the complexities of standing up to power. Her relationship with Nathan had evolved into something genuine and respectful, a stark contrast to Ryan's calculated pursuit. The morning Lucy left for college, she hugged me longer than she had in years. She thanked me for showing her that real strength wasn't about violence or intimidation, but about protecting family through patience and smart choices. She'd learned that some battles require different weapons than those taught in military training. Her courage in that park had accomplished what months of my defensive strategies couldn't. Our story spread through the community, not as gossip, but as cautionary tale and inspiration. Other families dealing with similar harassment found hope in our survival. The teacher Ryan had targeted before us reached out with gratitude, finally feeling validated after years of silence. Lucy's peer support group continued even after she left, her legacy of turning trauma into helpful action. I returned to my quiet life of spreadsheets and tax forms with profound relief. The excitement of conflict belonged in the past, both in Afghanistan and in our suburban battlefield. Sarah and I rediscovered the peace we'd sought when moving here 20 years ago. The war had followed me home in unexpected form, but we'd won it together as a family. Looking back, Ryan had taught us valuable lessons despite his cruel intentions. He'd forced conversations about my past that brought us closer. He'd revealed Lucy's incredible strength and intelligence. He'd shown us which community members were true friends. In trying to destroy us, he'd inadvertently made us stronger. The last update came through Lucy's college roommate, whose cousin attended Ryan's reform school. He'd apparently stopped targeting others, focusing instead on graduating early and keeping low profile. Whether this represented genuine change or strategic adaptation remained unknown. What mattered was that he was no longer our problem. Our family story serves as a reminder that modern warfare doesn't always involve bullets or bombs. Sometimes the enemy attacks through social media and whisper campaigns. Sometimes the battlefield is a school parking lot or country club dining room, but the principles remain the same. Protect your people, document everything, and know when to let the next generation take point. Lucy had proven herself a worthy warrior in her own right, using intelligence and courage where force would have failed. Like the video for more content just like this. I love reading your comments when you are not hating. See you all in the next.